Hey, and we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Smart Women Connect with myself and Sarah. We've actually just been in the middle of discussing, is menopause really a big deal? And I thought, better press play. So here we are, pressing play and going. Is menopause really a big deal? It's all we seem to be seeing now. Everyone is out there saying, let's talk about it. And the messages are just so mixed. And before we even chat, here's what I'm going to say to you. Everybody's different. It is going to affect everybody in a different way. But the reality is that your estrogen levels, your progesterone levels, your testosterone, regardless of who you are, they're all going to change. But it's going to impact each and every one of us in a different way. So my advice to you is don't listen to any one person. Listen to yourself, listen to your own body, and go and get tests. And once you get tests, then go and speak to multiple professionals. So that means people who are qualified, because the messages are so mixed. And how things work for one person and how they work for another person are going to differ so much. We're going to talk about our own experiences, and we're also going to talk a little bit about what we're hearing out there, because we're both in a number of groups. We've both done some certifications ourselves, and we're watching this because we're both bang smack in the middle of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's really good advice. I'm partway through this experience, and I actually did a live in one of my Facebook groups last week, talking about anxiety and how I've always had anxiety all my life, but then talking about how things have started to change. It was just before I turned 40, actually. I'm 44 now, and the experience that I've had, the symptoms that I have had, who I've gone to for help, who I've found helpful, who has not been helpful. So everything that you have just said. And the interesting thing is I got a lot of feedback after doing that live, people messaging me either direct or on the page or whatever, was things like, oh, do you know, it's funny, Sarah, because I was thinking I'm feeling less resilient to stress, or my anxiety levels have really crept up, and I was beginning to wonder what it was. And I thought maybe it was lockdown, but I really didn't feel that it was that. I never put, the two things together. I never realized that those feelings could be connected to perimenopause, menopause. And I think your advice to listen to yourself is a wonderful one. I have recently been tested, and I'll come on and talk about that in a minute. My estrogen levels and my testosterone levels are through the floor. I don't get night sweats. I don't get hot flashes. And if you think, there's the obvious, it's kind of the top 3 to 5 symptoms that women know about, when I hit menopause, I'm going to get hot flashes and the rest of it. You don't necessarily get those. I've got a ton of others, not necessarily those. And I think you do have to start listening to your body and this can happen at any age. The documentary that was on last week with Davina McCall, there was a woman on there talking about how she went through menopause age 14. Now, that's obviously highly unusual, but we do need to be paying attention to our bodies, connecting with our bodies. And if something doesn't feel right to us, don't dismiss it. Don't just, we're so busy. This is part of the problem. We're busy. Oh, it's just, and we pass it off as something. Oh, but I'm particularly stressed this week because my child isn't sleeping. Or, oh, well, it's just this. Oh, well, it's just that. I'll be fine. But actually, if something is going on and on, you need to pay attention to it. And then, as you rightly say, get tested. Now, when I started to experience changes, I went to my GP. I thought I needed to change the contraceptive pill that I was on, because it just didn't seem to be, keeping things in check anymore, which is why I'd gone on it in the first place. And I was told, well, you could try this one, you could try that one. Why don't we give it a go? This kind of thing. Yeah. And fast forward a couple of years later, I had a cervical cancer scare, which led me to having a minor operation. But then after that, going to see a gynecologist, booking in to, just to go and say, look, this has happened. I want to get a check, and I want to talk to you about what I can do, because I'm now experiencing all these changes. My gut instinct, and we should always trust that, is that something is changing. No, you're too young, you're too young. No. I feel different. I know something's going on. I was told by that consultant, you can't get tested. Testing is pointless. You can't test your hormones because they're fluctuating all the time. You're never going to get a true reading, etc. So I thought, I don't know if that's right. I don't know, I'm not sure. But this was a guy who was top of his field. So anyway, more recently, towards the back end of last year, I decided, no, I need to speak to more people about this, which led me down another path, and I'm not going to go into all the details now because we don't have time, but it led me down another path to speak to a nutritional therapist that specialised in perimenopause and menopause. I did get tests done. I had the Dutch test, which is a specific test to look at those sex hormones that you've just described, the progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. I had gut profiling done as well. I did the whole thing. And then have since been working with nutritional therapists to figure out what is going on and what that looks like. That looks like my estrogen and testosterone is through the floor. At that point, nutritional therapists aren't necessarily qualified to guide you and prescribe HRT and testosterone and all the rest of it. At that point, you do need to go and speak to a doctor, speak to a GP, and that's the stage that I am now at. So it is confusing. It is a bit of a minefield, but I think once you start, as you say, looking around and speaking to different people and getting somewhere with it, not accepting the you're too young, you're too old, you're too this, you're too that, no you can't, yes you can. You need to figure out, you need to understand what is going on with you and your body, and you're entitled to know that. And so I would encourage anyone that is listening to this to find those solutions. If you want guidance on who to speak to, I'm sure the two of us can help with that because we have now been through the process. But it is important to keep going, to not pushing these symptoms to one side, expecting them to go away, because they're not going to. A lot of the discussion at the moment is about HRT, but of course, and that's why the nutritional therapists are fantastic, because they can help guide your lifestyle, because lifestyle changes can make a huge difference. This isn't a sort of HRT or nothing approach. There are many, many natural ways that you can help yourself. And of course, those ways are things that we should be doing first. I suspect you're the same as me, Virginia. You've been doing all of those things for years anyway. So if it's not working,
it still gets you. I mean, I sit and I think, well, when did I first realise that something was going wrong? And hindsight is a fantastic thing. But I remember I'd opened up my gym. I was right in the middle of it. It was really, really busy. But I had other stressors going on in my life. Now, notice I'm saying stressors here because this is where it is really important to listen to your body. What you're going to find with stress is that stress raises your cortisol levels. As your cortisol levels are being raised, it's affecting your hormones. So there are so many other things going on in your life that can have a massive effect on this. And that's why it is so important that you listen to your body. So there I was running my gym, and things really were, when I look at them now, things were all fine, but I wasn't fine. And I was noticing as I was driving down to the gym for sessions that I was becoming really quite stressed. I was becoming uptight. I didn't realise at the time, but now as I look back on it, I actually thought I was burning out. I thought I was just overworking, and I was doing a lot, but I wasn't doing any more than I had ever done before. I thought I was doing too much. I thought I was burning out. And rather than go and get tested and find out what was going on in my life, I just threw the towel in. And I just decided, look, this is it. I'm obviously killing myself here. I'm working too hard. The stress was getting on top of me. I was getting depressed. And if anyone knows my history, I have a history of depression. Depression for me in the past has led to suicidal tendencies and a couple of suicidal attempts as well, which I really don't want to go again. So I was becoming quite afraid of how I was feeling, how my body was feeling, how my mind was feeling. And I threw the towel in. I just went, bang, I'm just not going to do this anymore. And I've never done that. I have never been the kind of individual who's just given up. But I gave up and I made every excuse going of, oh, it was this, it was that, it was the next thing. The reality is I just gave up because I didn't know what was going on with my body. The reality was that it didn't change. So after I stopped doing what I was doing, working the hours I've been working, doing what I was doing, I didn't change. I was still going in that downward spiral and I was very, very conscious of it. So I had some tests done and I discovered that my hormones weren't quite where they should be and that it was probably affecting my mental state. But because I was already in that downward spiral, I had started eating badly. I'd stopped exercising the way that I'd been exercising before. I was gaining weight and I was gaining weight in my belly and I had never gained weight in my belly before and everything was changing. Now, I was still carrying on doing my podcasts, doing everything else and just not telling the world exactly where I was. I was hinting at it. I was hinting at the fact that something was going on, but I didn't really understand what was happening to my body. And I just made a change. I decided, here we go. I am going to get back into this again. I'm going to start eating healthily again. I'm going to start moving again. And I was very, very anti-HRT. I did some courses and just in my mind, it was, I can't do HRT. That makes me so weak. I can't give into that stuff. Until I realized that, you know, estrogen, etc., is kind of like having oil in a car. Your car can't be driven without oil. As women, we can't fully operate without our essential hormones. So I started to learn a little bit more about it. But at the same time, I had started eating really healthily. I was supplementing on every supplement that you can imagine for helping with menopausal symptoms. But like Sarah, I wasn't having the sweats, etc. For me, it was sheer bloody exhaustion. I was absolutely exhausted. And my hair was coming out.
The hair.
My hair. I was going into the shower, washing my hair, doing this, and out it was coming, lumps and lumps of hair. And I've always had this really thick mop of hair. And that was beginning to affect my confidence too. So, you know, you can go on and on. And anyway, I just want to say I'm not anti-HRT. Having done all of my investigations now, I've just gone back for more hormonal tests because the hair is really beginning to bother me now. So I will update everyone. I've got my nice bruise on my arm here. I will update everyone in the next couple of weeks to let you know where my hormones are and any action that I decide to take after that based on what the results are. Yeah. But it's going to affect you in so many ways. How the hell are we supposed to run houses, look after our children, guide our children, run businesses, hold down managerial positions in offices, look after people, be stable if you've got all of this shit going on in your life? Yeah. And it is shit. It really, really is shit.
It is. And you hit the nail on the head when you said it is frightening. It's really scary. You know, you were worried about the depression and suicidal tendencies. Davina McCall on her documentary talked again about how she was concerned that she was getting dementia. that was one of my massive concerns. My father died of Alzheimer's back in 2002. And so I'm acutely aware that, that could potentially be an issue for me in many years' time. So to hear that the statistics during that program, specifically in relation to women in dementia with declining estrogen levels and testosterone levels, was really worrying to me and shocking. And it is scary. And also, Davina McCall talked about feeling like she was going mad. And I went through a phase like that as well of, I'm so exhausted. Am I burning myself out?
Yeah, exactly.
When I looked at I've always been a busy person. I've always juggled things, managed things. I thrive off it. I enjoy that, that feeling. And it's never depleted me in that way. It's always been manageable and I've always enjoyed it. And it was getting to a point where I was like, I just don't know if I can carry on like this. But looking at my diary, I was like, but there's no big deal here. There's nothing that's too draining. There's nothing particularly stressful in my life. So when I started feeling like I was heading towards burnout in the same way that you described, that was worrying to me, because I just thought, what's happening to me that I'm unable to cope with things that I used to think nothing about? It was just not a problem. And so I did feel like I was going a bit mad. And especially I think through lockdown, when, you're in a confined space with your family, you're not seeing friends as much or at all. And I talk to my husband, he's very understanding, but he can't possibly understand.
No, they don't get it. They
do. Yeah, this isn't me dissing men at all. But it's not the same as talking to another woman who has experienced or is experiencing similar symptoms to you, feeling the fear, wondering what to do, which direction to go in. And I just think the more that you can talk to friends about it and find out information to your GPs, etc., the better, because you feel less alone. And you can learn so much more from people and their experiences as well.
I'm just going to read up here what Samantha's put up, because she talks about supplements. So she says, I attended an online webinar last night, which was delivered by a doctor who's conducted numerous studies on nutrition and how proper nutrition affects all functions in the body. So many people think we don't need supplementation, but it was an eye-opener as to how important it is actually to take supplements, because even the best designed clean plant-based diet cannot possibly provide all the nutrients that we need for proper function. All of this plays a massive role in hormonal balance. She carries on here. Studies show that 65% of supplements on the shelf do not contain what they claim on their labels. Now, I'm going to say that I have actually done some research on this as well and done some courses, and it's true. I mean, I supplement like crazy, but there is research out there that shows that if you're on a plant-based diet, that you're not getting all of the essential nutrients that you need for your body. I'm also going to say something else. I'm not going to go into this because I don't think we've got enough time to go into it. If you're a highly stressed woman and menopause is stressing you out even more, you're going to get something called gut inflammation. So you'll hear people talking about gut health all the time. Gut health affects your body's ability to absorb the nutrients in your food. Now, I'm saying that slowly and I'm going to say it again. Poor gut health affects your body's ability to absorb the nutrients from your food. If it's affecting your body's ability to absorb the nutrients from your food, it's affecting your body's ability to absorb the nutrients from those supplements as well. So if you're overdoing the alcohol and eating shit and you're stressed out, and I'm using that word shit because a lot of us do, you're affecting your gut health. Your gut health, if it's poor, is going to affect your menopausal symptoms even more. Alcohol, I hardly touch this stuff now because I drink so little. If I have 1 or 2 glasses of wine, I'm going to start to have a wee bit of a night sweat, and I do not have night sweats.
I'm exactly the same. Exactly the same. If I drink wine, and I don't drink very much at all either, I haven't cut it out completely, and I don't. This isn't as
like a glass of wine every now and again, or a gin and tonic. I quite like it.
But if I do,
that it makes me drunk though.
No. But if I have one glass, I'm okay. If I've had half a bottle, that night I may get a little bit warm.
One glass affects me, Sarah. I never have any more than 2 glasses of wine, and it's never even 2 full glasses. It'll be 1 3/4, and I have never in my whole entire life consumed any more than 2 glasses of wine in one sitting. I've never been drunk. That 1 and a bit glasses of wine will make me feel like crap the next day. I notice it in every way, and I even notice the increased levels of tiredness and the fatigue in my body, never mind anything else. And that's just like 1 and a bit glasses of wine. If you're drinking that wine all the time and you're normally functioning in a state of having alcohol in your body, you're not realizing how much that alcohol is affecting the menopausal symptoms. So you're living in a state of being under the influence, and I'm going to call it under the influence, and that under the influence is affecting your hormonal level. So it is massive. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, in answer to our original question, it is a big deal. It's a massive deal. It's taking over women's lives in some cases. And I just think, we learn so much about puberty at school. Then we learn about pre and post natal, before you have a baby, while you're pregnant, after you've had the baby. And then we seem to just drop off a cliff. No one cares anymore. And no one is educating us, preparing us for the menopause.
But nobody knows. I think that's the point. I think the reality is that nobody knows, because we're living longer now. We're living longer, so they haven't done the research. I was really, really interested to find out that they haven't done research on the long-term effects of taking HRT. And I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that HRT is continually changing, and you can now get the bioidentical HRT, which is based on YAMS. So you can now get that as well. And I'm going to say as well that different women require different compositions of the HRT as well. So you can't just go along and buy one off the shelf and it's going to work for absolutely everybody. But they haven't done the long-term research. And I think, as I'd said earlier on, when your estrogen levels, etc., change, you're not going to get postmenopausal and all of a sudden it's going to come back again and you're going to go back to normal. That isn't going to happen. You're going to be constantly functioning in that place of not having the same hormones that you've been functioning in before. So your car is constantly going to be out of oil. So you are going to have to do something, or you are going to have to find another way to live. I'm not taking HRT right now. I might, depending on what the results are. But man, do I take every supplement going, everything for my energy. And I'm so conscious of what I put into my body. And I drink water constantly, and not just normal water. I put electrolytes into it, because your body's ability to retain water as you go through menopause decreases too. So as a youngster, you could drink water in the morning and go all day. Now you can't. Now your body gets dehydrated really, really quickly. And that affects your hormones, that affects your cortisol levels, and that affects your energy levels. And when your energy starts to go down, it is all, I'm going to say it, fucked. Okay? Energy down, body fucked, hormones all over the place, cortisol level through the roof, and you're a mess.
You're just less capable of dealing with what life throws at you, because let's not forget that life carries on and stuff keeps coming at you, doesn't it? And I think, if we're not optimizing, you know, I take supplements, I drink loads of water, I exercise, I do all the things that we are told we need to do. Rest, sleep 8 hours a night, all the things. But I'm still struggling. And, you know, again, I actually have my appointment with my private GP in 2 days' time, because you can't.
There you go. Explain why a private GP. Because you can't.
Because you can't get testosterone prescribed on the NHS. So tomorrow I'm having an appointment with my normal GP, who is a women's health specialist. So that will be an interesting conversation. Then I'm having my appointment the day after with the private GP. And then, yeah, I'm happy to discuss with people after that. And I will be doing inside my group as to what the upshot of that is. Yeah. And one of the questions I have is, if I go on HRT, because that is what is being proposed, if I do that, how long am I on it for? What are the implications? They may not be able to answer any of those questions, but equally, you know, I don't want to be taking it for a certain period of time and then drop off the end of that cliff we were just talking about.
Keep talking. My laptop's about to run out of power.
Okay. Talking of which, lacking of energy. So I don't want to get to a point where, you know, I have to come off it for some reason and then not know which way to turn again. So there are loads of questions. I have done loads of my own research in the same way that Virginia has. I think you have to before you go in and speak to the GPs, because certainly in my experience, having spoken to gynecologists, you know, being told, well, no, there's no point doing hormone tests. Well, I now know that was incorrect. Yeah. If you go in and you're having these conversations with your GP, you need to know enough to ask the right questions. You need to be informed so that you can question it, ask about alternatives, and ask things like, you know, well, if I do that, well, how long am I going to be on it? And how, you know, once I start taking it, when am I going to start seeing the changes? When am I going to X, Y, Z? You know, there are so many questions.
He's commented here to say that once you're on it, it's for life. The doctors will tell you. I'm not getting that feedback from everyone that I'm speaking to, Samantha. I'm definitely not. Some people have said yes, and other people have said no. And I think that's the thing with the research at the moment as well. They're not sure what the long-term implications are. In a group that both Sarah and I are in, there was an older lady there who said that she had been on it for years and she was okay, and she expected to go to her coffin still taking it. There's other people who have taken it and stopped taking it. So I think the reality is we don't know yet, do we?
No. I was talking to someone yesterday who's in her 70s. She's been on HRT for, I think, 23 years, or was. And 2 years ago, her GP said, you've been on it long enough, you need to come off. And she was made to come off it. I don't know. I didn't get the opportunity to ask why that was the advice. But I don't think GPs, or certainly from my experience and what I've heard, I don't think GPs are saying, there you go, that's it for the rest of your life. I don't think that is the case. Some people may be being told that, I don't know, but that's certainly not my understanding. But it's still a question. It's still
it is.
To try and understand, isn't it?
Yeah. You talked about dementia earlier on, and again, I saw some research, and I have to go back and find it. I follow a lot of the medical journals who had said that heavy weightlifting in your lower body, so building up that strength in the lower body, is beneficial for brain health. So they were linking that to reduced Alzheimer's. So I thought that was very interesting. And you will hear us talking about the benefits of weight training. If your body is in a bad condition or a poor condition, in other words, if you're drinking too much alcohol, you're not drinking enough water to keep you hydrated, you're not exercising. And by exercising, neither one of us is an advocate of any one exercise. we're both strong advocates of a combination of strength, flexibility, and endurance or cardio workouts. So if you're exercising, nice balanced exercise habits, eating a healthy diet, drinking plenty of water, getting your sleep, managing your stress levels, all the fundamentals for being a healthy person, then you're going to reduce how you feel from a menopausal point of view. But if all of that is rubbish, add menopause on top of it, and you're just going down a spiral.
Yeah. But it's not, this sounds, yes, menopause is a big deal, but it's not the end. It's not something to start getting overly concerned about, because things are changing. And I think that's what is so great about even us having this conversation live now and broadcasting this to lots of women, hopefully, that will then share it with their friends and listen, is the conversations are happening more and more often now. There are GPs who are trying to educate other GPs, GPs that are specializing in this area of medicine. There is more of an awareness. There is nowhere near enough. Someone was saying the other day, if this was anything to do with men, it would have been dealt with by now. If, HRT, the equivalent, if there were problems with Viagra, that would have been dealt with.
But that's because we don't talk about stuff. That's because we like to, as women, it's like, oh, we can't talk about that because
I don't know what the reason is for it, but I think, there's a degree of embarrassment, I suppose. There's a degree of, and people say, oh, you shouldn't be embarrassed, it's a medical issue. Yeah, okay, but nevertheless, women are less likely to talk about certain symptoms of menopause than others.
I'll talk about them all. What do you want to know? I'll talk about them all. It also has effects on your bladder health as well, so you
definitely
really careful about that one.
Definitely. But there's like 30 plus over. There's many symptoms, but it's not something. That's the thing. I want us to keep talking about it, because I don't want women to go through what we went through, feeling scared, feeling like they couldn't talk to anyone, that they were going mad, that they didn't quite understand.
Feeling weak, Sarah. I think for me, that's it. Don't feel weak about this. It's not a sign of weakness. And I think that was my issue. I was like, oh, I'm not quite where I was before.
I think it's a combination of, depending on your personality, whether you see it as a sign of weakness or whether, lots of women, and this isn't a criticism of women, I think it's society that does this, is admitting and embracing the aging process. So, we struggle with it. I don't like the fact that my hair isn't in the same condition it used to be. I don't like some of the changes that I'm seeing in my body. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, there are things I can do about it, but I'm already doing it. But I can't, unless I'm, going to go down that path of getting Botox and all those other things, which I'm just not prepared to do. It's a natural aging process.
Yeah.
But I think talking about menopause is tough for some women to begin with, because it's a sign of aging. Some people, used to feel, I'm no longer of childbearing age, I'm barren, I'm whatever those conversations you've got going on in your head, or I'm past my best, I can't, now this is a slippery slope into decline because I'm old. That's hard for some women when we're in a society that showcases youth and beauty and, in magazines.
And photoshopped bodies and photoshopped faces. And
the old body isn't celebrated in the same way. So that's tough. But then when I think it comes to decisions like HRT, some women are making the decisions to go on HRT and never telling anyone or denying they're on it because... No, my body is more than capable of dealing with these changes. And I think, you're right. It's a sign of weakness, a sign, or people perceive it to be a sign of weakness, a sign that their body is not in the optimum condition. It could be that it is in some way their fault that this is happening to them. It's not my fault that my estrogen, testosterone levels are where they are. Yeah. I live a really healthy life. I'm very lucky that my symptoms And that's, I think, why I was starting to feel like I was going mad, because they were so subtle. They were creeping in so slowly. And I don't have any of the big ones, you know, the big symptoms like we were talking about, the night sweats and things. I don't have those. I have these sort of insidious ones that crept up on me. And I think that is testament to the fact that I do live a healthy life. But it's got to the point where I need to explore options that can support that. And the more we talk about it, the more open we are about it, and the more that we accept this is a natural process. And this, in the same way that, you know, you take medications for anything else, it's just a way of acknowledging where there is some level of lack in your body, something, you know, in the same way you take supplements if you were vitamin D deficient. It's supporting that and helping you to live your best life for many, many years to come. As you say, you know, we're living up to a third, if not more, of our lives after menopause now.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to continue this one, because I have to run off now because I have a board meeting. See, you can be menopausal and still doing it all, and it's all good. It doesn't make us weak. We can still do it all. We just need to talk about it and be more open about what's going on and let people know, hey, I'm having a shit day.
And on the upside, you've remembered you've got a board meeting.
Yeah, I did. I remembered, and I'm a minute late, so I'm going to have to run. So we'll see you back on the next Smart Women Connect, and I think we might do another one of these as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
So, guys, thank you. Bye.